Project Cobra is back. That's right. Welcome back to the Plays with Cars YouTube channel. This is our 96 SVT Cobra Mustang. This is the car that we used to win the Oregon Region SECA season championship last year in Cam. We took it to the Packwood National Pro Solo and drifted it tandem style up in Tootle, drag raced it, blew up a couple of rear ends, track night in America, took it up to Shelton, all sorts of crazy stuff with it last year. It had been for sale. We talked about it in quite a few videos actually. Had a real serious person offer on it. They were going to turn it into a new SCCA time trials car, which would be perfect. Like, that's really what this chassis I think would be good at with all the mods it has. And that kind of fell through, and that's okay. And the reason why we're talking about it today particularly is yesterday I took it out for the first time since November. Yeah, that's right. It's been sitting in the garage kind of doing nothing since then. You can see it still has rain on it because it was raining so hard yesterday, but had to take it out. I had charged up the battery, gotten it running, and it just really needed to go stretch its legs, and it was really good to get out there and do that. So what are we going to do with the car? Since it's not going anywhere, and we're not going to autocross it or pro solo it anymore, what are we going to do with it? Well, that's a good question. Not entirely sure yet, but one thing I know for sure is that these are going in it. You see, this car has not always been gunmetal. It was originally red, which means it has this god-awful tan interior. And it's not just that it's tan that's awful, because this color can actually look good. It's in terrible shape. This car has nearly 160,000 miles on it, and you can tell. I mean, look at that. It's just trashed. This wrap is hiding a steering wheel that is equally as bad. You look at the center console and like everything is kind of like floppy and half broken, and I mean, these things were never paragons of quality when they were new, but it sure hasn't gotten any better now. So yeah, there's tape holding things on. There's screws missing, there's broken parts, there's things that don't work, but there's also good stuff. Headliner's in good shape, and dashboard top is great. You can see no cracks or anything there. So what we have is, last season when I was buying the new rear axle for it, I also bought almost an entire charcoal interior out of a 2004 Mach 1. It's the same car the rear axle came out of. But for seats, I didn't get the Mach 1 seats. The guy kind of like stripped Special Mustangs, and he had these 2001 Cobra seats. So those are the back, and these are the fronts. You can see they've got the little Cobra embroidered on them. And up there is more parts, and inside there is even more stuff. So I have all of these things to put nice interior in the car. You can see, oh, we've also got some Javelin parts in there too. Parts for cars we don't own anymore. That's what happens at Plays with Cars. But yeah, one of a few of the things we got was this absolutely perfect steering wheel, which came from said super low mile Mach 1 that is exactly the same as the Cobra wheel. Now I will have to dye my airbag the same color charcoal and reuse it on this because only the Cobra airbag says Cobra on it, but this steering wheel is going to be way nicer. And we also have, is that the right one? I think, yeah, we also have this Alpine deck to put in there so that there's tunes in said, yeah, that's the junk one, so that there's tunes in the Cobra again. So yeah, and I got new mirrors for it for the outside. Our mirrors are floppy. I don't know, they're kind of, well, that one's better, but the driver's side is really bad. But the car had been hit on the driver's side before. I think we've talked about that before. When I first got the car, it got sideswiped by a drunk driver when it was parked in front of the house. So it's seen some struggles in its life. But anyways, that's the first step, is the new interior is going in the car. While we are putting the interior in the car, we're going to fix a bunch of stuff. We've got some wiring issues from last season. That means that the cruise control doesn't work anymore. So we're going to fix that at the same time. The stereo hasn't worked in the car since I got it. When I got it, it had some big, crazy, stupid subwoofers and amplifiers and just, you know. And obviously, I'm making a race car. I don't care about all that weight. It all left. So it's got the rear speakers and the door speakers in it, and it's got a head unit, but none of it is hooked up correctly because it's a Mach 460 car. And if anybody knows anything about these SN95 Mustangs, the Mach system, while like sounding good for the time, was like so integrative. There's an amplifier that's like just buried underneath the dashboard and just miles and miles and miles of wiring, and it's just the stupidest setup. You got to rip it all out and like wire from scratch to wire in your own system. Like nobody makes harnesses that plug in. Like they can never actually figure the wiring out. It just goes in loops. So we're going to do all of that wiring while everything is out of the car, because I even have new carpet, which is here underneath the lights and stuff. So we've got charcoal carpet, door panels, rear kick panels, front kick panels. We've got charcoal steering wheel, the little, what do they call those? These things right here, sill panels. We've got these in the charcoal. We've got the charcoal seats. The only things we're going to have to make charcoal on the car is I can order some dye to dye the passenger airbag and then the driver airbag for the steering wheel, like I said, because this is the only one that has Cobra on it. And then these under dash panels I'm going to dye at the same time. I will likely leave the top of the dash black. We'll see, but maybe I'll dye that too. And then I need to find a center console. I can dye this one, but they changed the center console for the new Edge cars. They went with a cup holder here and got rid of the ashtray. And obviously I'm not a smoker and could care less about the broken ass ashtray. And the car doesn't have fog lights, so that's useless too. So it'd be nice to get a charcoal. Oh yeah, and then this thing is like, it's actually in pretty decent shape. And then this is cup holder and a 96 Cobra, in case you didn't know. But yeah, I'd like to find a new console, but if I can't, that's fine. We'll dye this one too. So I have a couple of pieces to dye, but everything else in the car I have brand new in charcoal to put in. So we will be ripping this entire interior out of the car and starting from scratch on it, basically, when it comes to wiring and seats and stuff, and finally get rid of these rickety, nasty cloth, no bolster. These are base model V6 seats. When I got the car, it had the full leather Cobra interior in it, and both the seats were power like 18 million way, and I traded somebody for their cloth seats. The leather seats, honestly, were more trash than this, so don't get too worried. But mainly, I wanted the seat tracks. That way we had manual seat tracks front on both sides, because that saves a ton of weight in these. They're like 35 pounds lighter per seat just in the track. So that's part of why we were at minimum weight for Cam, was changing the seats out. But I'm going to keeping the tracks, but we're going to put in those nicer 01 Cobra seats. So we're going to get the interior of this thing looking as good as the exterior. And that's going to be kind of the first step in the car. And that way it's, I don't know, it's nicer to street drive, and then we're going to go from there. As far as bigger plans after that, I think what I'm going to end up doing is turning this into a pseudo drag car. And I say that because the Porsche is obviously what we're doing for autocrossing, but I'm not going to do any track days or anything like that in it. This car, I can leave the suspension completely alone, and it's perfect for track night in America or open lapping days, or maybe even SCCA time trial. They do have a national tour event coming to Portland for that, which would be super awesome to go to, but it kind of interferes with schedules. Pardon me. But I can leave all that alone, and I can keep, these wheels and tires and stuff for tracking. But for drag racing, all I really have to do is get another set of wheels and tires that are more drag racer friendly. So some fronts that are a lot skinnier than 9 inches wide and running a 275. Which would help a lot. And then rear's tire height matters a lot. This car does have a 355 gear in it now, but it would be nice to also put something with some more sidewall on it, and that's like drag racing oriented instead of autocross oriented. But yeah, like basically a set of wheels and tires, and we've got like a pseudo drag car setup. This car did go 13.4s. No, it's 13.3s. 13.3 at 104 miles an hour, back with the old 327 gear in it. So now that it's got new gear in it, it should be a little quicker. Because the other thing it did is you had to go through in third at basically red line, and the engine is, even though it does have a great power band and high red line, it really doesn't make as much power at 7,200 RPMs as it does back down at 5-ish. So it'd be nice to go through the gears 1, 2, 3, 4 for the quarter mile. But yeah, so it would be really nice to just get a set of wheels and tires for this thing, take it to the drag strip, and see what happens. See if we can't improve on that time by not pushing such a big front tire, by having a 60-foot better than a 2.0. This car's never even been in the 190s for 60-foots because it's always been set up for road racing or autocross. We just took it to drag strips on larks, basically. But I'd like to actually kind of attack the drag strip with it. I mean, 104 miles an hour is a pretty good trap speed. Like I said, with the new gearing, that will change, and maybe we can get this thing into the 12s without really doing much to it, which would be, I think, super fun. And if we do that, maybe we'll keep doing more and more to the car, but keeping it totally street friendly and keeping it able to do track days, because that is my favorite thing to do in this car. So we will definitely try to get onto a big track at least once this year in this, probably a track night in America at Portland International, which I just love in this because this suspension is really set up well for that track. Big sweeping turns, long straightaways, and you can just hammer down. It is a treat. But yeah, that's what we're going to do with the car. This is going to be the track car, so to say, because it is a hardtop, which means we don't have to screw around with roll bars or anything like that like we would with the Boxster. And we're going to do some drag racing with it because, frankly, it's fun. And, you can only screw off in a parking lot so many times at less than the speed limit before you're like, okay, I have the need for some real speed. So with this, we can go down to a drag strip on a Friday or Saturday night and go knock off a bunch of 100+ mile an hour runs and kind of get that out of our system, you know what I mean? So that's what's going on with Project Cobra. It is coming back to the channel. It's going to be an actual regular project car build, just like the Porsche is. So yeah, expect updates on that. But we are going to start with the interior while it's still snowy and crappy and garbage winter out. I'm going to be stripping that whole interior out of that. We're going to fix all the wiring in the car, get the stereo working, show you how to do some spray dye stuff with the OEM spray dye to match all those colors. And just start putting the car back together, and then that way when the weather's nice, we'll be ready to go attack some drag racing. So that's what's going on with Project Cobra, but she does run and drive. Like I said, took her out yesterday and drove her all over the place and to work and stuff like that, and yeah, she's running good and doing great. So until next time.